Good morning, everybody, here from Forever United TV, live from Manchester, bringing you your Manchester United updates. And what a day it was yesterday. Loads of stuff hitting the news. Transfer-wise for Manchester United, we're going to start today with the update on Jadon Sancho, because there has been bigger developments from yesterday going overnight with who is actually in for Jadon Sancho. The approach from Napoli, what Giovanni Manna, the sporting director at Napoli, has actually said about the situation with Jadon Sancho. He's been very, very clear. We're going to talk about that. Who else actually came in for him as well? We've got an update on Bryan Mbeumo and what talks are happening this week. Also, Manchester United striker hunt and what is going on with that and where we're actually at now, and other strikers we're actually looking at. That web is started to spread, and the net has been cast out a lot further, it would seem, in terms of strikers. Going to go through that as well. And of course, we're going to get some more opinion on the Garnacho situation and that post on social media yesterday that caused an absolute storm. I made my opinion very, very clear last night on the video on that. I haven't changed my mind after sleeping on it. We will get your opinions on that, but we're here to talk about everything that is Manchester United, not just people like that and people that are obviously not of interest to us, because they're not going to make us any better. What we want to know is who is going to make Manchester United a better team. What players are coming into Manchester United that are going to help us climb that table? We know what these players are. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's get on to Jadon Sancho first of all. Obviously, he's doing nothing for Manchester United at the moment, as we know. And we do need to obviously move him on. He's going to fetch a decent, well, not so much a decent price, but a decent amount of room PSR-wise, financially, for Manchester United to go out and make something happen. So where are we actually at then? Well, we know that his preferred choice is Napoli. Napoli have made moves to seal the signature of Jadon Sancho by saying that they are completely on board with the transfer fee. There is no issue there. Romano has cleared that up. 21 million in total for Jadon Sancho. Fantastic news for Manchester United. And then we're down to the negotiations for the personal terms. Now, Damasio came out on Friday and said that there is an agreement in place. Sancho is happy to move to Napoli. What that meant, it was very vague. It could have been very broad. It could have been anything from like what I was saying at the time, a deal that he was happy to sign after a loan agreement possibly for next season. It doesn't look like that, because now we've found out since then, of course, that Napoli are happy to pay that transfer fee for Jadon Sancho. But obviously, we know that Jadon Sancho has turned down an offer from Chelsea already, so we got a little bit worried and concerned about what Jadon Sancho's wage demands actually might be. And in this case, it does look like we may be seeing a similar scenario, unfortunately, with Napoli. Now, Giovanni Manna has come out and made it very, very clear. He said, regarding Jadon Sancho, one thing is very clear: we will not pay the requested wages of Jadon Sancho. That is never going to happen. So you get to worrying then as to what that actually means. Does Jadon Sancho want the same money or similar to what he's on now at Manchester United? If that is the case, we know that's going to get blown out. There's no Italian club on the planet going to offer Jadon Sancho them wages. Or is this basically what he's been paid now? That's the response from Giovanni Manna in terms of what he's being obviously paid by Manchester United. They're not going to go near that. How has Jadon Sancho actually requested a separate amount? That's the difference, I feel. Has he just actually looked at what he's on now, Giovanni Manna, and said, no chance? Or has Jadon Sancho gone in and requested something? If that's the case, then I do worry that this deal might not happen. If he's happy to go to Italy, he has to understand that the scenario is here, that there isn't as much money in Italy as there is in the Premier League. You cannot get them wages in Italy. If you are happy to go there, you have to accept that you are lowering your wages to get into the club. So let's deal with that and let's sit down and actually negotiate that, maybe, Jadon. I think that's the best way that we can look at that. And then you're looking at the situation. Someone actually said last night, and I cannot see this, there was another report come out last night about Scott McTominay, and Scott McTominay helping the situation and trying to push forward the claim for bringing Jadon Sancho into Napoli. I'm not saying that McTominay and Sancho don't get on. They probably do behind closed doors. I'm not particularly worried about that, but I don't think anybody needs the opinion, in my opinion, of Scott McTominay regarding Jadon Sancho. I'm sure you can make up your own mind as to what Jadon Sancho is and why you would want him at your football club. He had an alright season last season with Chelsea. No drama, no problems, some underperformances here and there, but overall, no issue. That's what we need to look at. With Man United, there was clearly an issue. And obviously, there is a bigger problem at Manchester United, as news over the last couple of days has proved with what is going on with the likes of Garnacho and Rashford. So let's just try and keep this down to what happened at Chelsea, hopefully, and try and get Jadon Sancho out of the bleeding door. And that's all we've got to hope for, really, when we look at this. Sancho, right now, we just know has to lower his wages to get a move away from Manchester United. That's the only hope we've got. There is another report, like he's going across the bottom of your screen right now with Sancho, which is that there is interest from Fenerbahce. They have contacted Manchester United about Jadon Sancho. They've contacted him regarding the conditions to the deal. Obviously, I think we all know what that is now and where United's price is. Can they afford Jadon Sancho? I don't know, is the honest answer. I would automatically say no, because I just don't see Turkish clubs spending that amount of money. And I mean upwards of 200 grand a week wages, probably what Jadon Sancho is asking for. So I don't know. I'm not counting them out. Like, there may be a deal to be had. There may be big bonuses and things like that. So maybe there is a deal to be had. And there is one Arab club as well. So I'm guessing a Saudi Arabian, a Saudi Pro League club is coming as well. That's what this report is saying. So interesting and I mean worrying and interesting and hopeful at the same time, all in one sort of report, really, there, isn't it? And the fact that Giovanni Mano has got scared, I think, by Sancho's wages at Napoli. We still know that Juventus are willing to pay Jadon Sancho what he wants, so that may come in. So positives there. So the Italian connection there for Jadon Sancho is not dead, and there are loads of options there. Overall, when you look at it and you look at the interest from abroad, you look at the interest from Saudi Arabia, from Turkey, from Italy, and Jadon Sancho happy to go to Italy, 2 clubs fighting for him there. I'm still comfortable with where we're at with Sancho. And he is now turning into the least of Man United's problems all of a sudden. And this is just the circus that Manchester United is, isn't it? When you start to talk like Jadon Sancho looks like the easy one out now compared to the others, and we're going to move on to that, obviously. But it just goes to show, doesn't it, like the chaos going on behind the scenes at our football club, caused by the way that this club has been run. It is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I'll just put a poll up there to just test where you're actually at. Who should be sold first? This may have changed over the last 24 hours. It's all of a sudden going to get a lot closer. Who should be sold first? Jadon Sancho, Alejandro Garnacho, or Marcus Rashford? If I told you right now, just off an instant 100, now nearly 200 votes, Marcus Rashford's only at 5%. Wow. Certain news and breaking news that happens at the time and whatever's trending definitely has an impact when it comes to people's opinions, doesn't it? Now, you know, my opinion has never changed of Jadon Sancho. I do believe that he has stolen a living at Manchester United. I look into the past, I look at the history, I look at certain issues, and that's why I brought up Chelsea. Because that, I think, is the only hope Manchester United have got. And in a way, we've got to thank Chelsea for taking him last season and actually, but thank you Maresca for one, for actually getting him through a season with no drama. That alone, I think, is what we have got to hold on to right now. The fact that Jadon has shown, and I'm not trying to big him up here or anything like that, because you know my opinion of him, and you know how quickly I want this man out of this football club. But Jadon Sancho, at least last season, has had a issue and drama-free season where he's done okay. He's grabbed, 16 goal involvements or something like that, was it? I think somewhere around that mark. And he's actually shown that he can do something on the pitch. And that, I think, is the only thing right now which is holding Manchester United up here and trying to get this transfer fee for him. And if we do get 21 million, we have swam the channel. We really have. And we have got rid of one of the biggest problems at this football club over the last 5 years. And a complete example as to what went wrong at Manchester United and why we are now talking about what we're going to be talking about next, which, of course, is the Alejandro Garnacho and Marcus Rashford situation. Why Marcus Rashford? Well, Marcus Rashford, I think, is he is the snake. He is the cut the head off the snake situation at Manchester United for me. And you may think, Adam, you're going in on him again. You've got too much of an opinion about him. I'm just talking about the situation that's developed from last night, obviously, regarding Garnacho and what's actually gone down. And everyone, do you know what? Just before we get into the actual actual post and what I said last night and everything like that. Everyone's got their own opinions about the situation. And I'm not going to go in on anybody for having an opinion on it. I won't agree with it. Like, some people don't agree with my stance on what Garnacho did. Some people are playing the situation down. No, the big point about my video last night and what my opinion was of Garnacho isn't him personally. It's the whole culture at Manchester United. If you look into my post on X, which got absolutely bombarded last night about Garnacho, I actually put in the post, this is the culture that Ruben Amorim is dealing with right now. And that's the problem. I don't want Garnacho to come back. I don't want him anywhere near a Man United shirt after what he's done. And this was before he did what he did last night. I'm sorry. You don't come out at the end of the season and completely slate on South American TV the whole season, calling it shit and whatever it was, and take no responsibility at all for your actions, only talking about you and what you should have had and what you could have done. Like, you were part of it, and you took no responsibility in that. So that was it for me. See you later. Get out the door, Garnacho. You've got previous for it. You threw out Ten Hag under the bus with a social media post last season after being subbed off at half-time. I actually backed Ten Hag on that one. Look, he made a decision. You weren't playing well. You were awful. And then you go out on social media afterwards. You've got all of the incidents with his brother after the game in the final, obviously, as well, and then you backing that up with what you actually said, and then all of a sudden, and this is where I'm at with it right now. When you look at what's happened, and people came at me last night, and I've seen a few of the comments. Oh, basically, Ruben Amorim has told him to go and find another club. You'll be lucky to find another football club. Yeah, he told him behind closed doors. That was leaked. So Ruben Amorim has told him, and this happens at every single club. There are fallouts and managers make big decisions. That's what they're paid to do. Not stand by and let the inmates run the asylum like other managers have done, and then we get where we are now. Someone needs to stand up and make a stance against these players, and Ruben has done that. Who do you think leaked that out? Who do you think told David Ornstein about this? I cannot see Manchester United, in the financial predicament they're in, leaking that news out, trying to make it look like we've got a problem player here, therefore devaluing Garnacho. This was leaked. Somebody leaked it out. I wonder who that was. Especially when you get posts like you did last night. And yes, this is my opinion and my opinion alone, and you can pile in if you want on this one. But what you've got to look at here is the previous, I feel, and the culture that has developed at Manchester United, where players feel like they can come out and do what they want. Do you know what? On top of this as well, it's not so much a massive issue as much, but no, in fact it is. The fact that Bruno Fernandes liked that post last night. Bruno, you know the situation. You know what's gone on with Marcus Rashford and Ruben Amorim. That's not on for me. The captain of our football club liking that post, and the other Man United players that did that as well, because I didn't bring that up last night because it was quite fresh and I went raw with my reaction to it, as you know I always do on this channel. That's not on either. That really isn't. I'm disappointed in all of the Man United players who liked that post. This is the culture. This is what I'm talking about, the overall impacts of things like this. Not just an individual. Look, I've got my opinion on what he's done, and I'll talk about that when it's in an isolated situation like this. But this just shows the world that Manchester United is in absolute chaos. And people brought up the fact that Dorgu was training in a Roma shirt. Ahmad was training in a Brighton shirt. It was a video of him in a Brighton shirt. I think Manuel Ugarte was in a shirt. I think it was it Flamengo? I think it was. Well, he was on his break. Garnacho's posed for a picture with Marcus Rashford on the back in an Aston Villa shirt. Why didn't he do a Man United shirt with Rashford on the back? If it was to support his actual friend or whatever, like some people are trying to claim, put him in a United shirt because you want him back at United where he belongs or something like that. You might actually have an argument there for that. But to go in an Aston Villa shirt, first and foremost, the club that Marcus Rashford was at last season because of the fallout with Ruben Amorim, I'm backing the manager, and I've backed the manager all along on the player power situation at Manchester United. It's the fact that these players feel like they can deliberately post this. Now, if you're a representative of Garnacho and you're talking to him about what's best for him and his future, and I said this last night, and this is why I know that this was deliberate. He knows what he's doing here. And you'll have people who are sitting on the fence with this. You'll have big accounts just posting out Garnacho's on holiday. Strap on a pair of balls and have an opinion, for God's sake. My God. scared about losing the bleeding accreditation or their access to Manchester United, not actually having an actual opinion. My God, like, you can see what is happening here. It's clear this was an absolute dig at Ruben Amorim. And there's nobody out there that can convince me otherwise, in my own opinion, that this is what this was. So if you're a representative of Garnacho, what is this doing? This is making it harder for Manchester United to sell Garnacho. This is what it is. He's forcing his way out of the football club, and he's causing a massive problem behind the scenes. He's lashing out, petulantly lashing out. Feels like he was ill-treated, hard done to at Manchester United. Didn't get the game time he thought he should have got in the final. And now look at the situation we've got developing here. How is Garnacho going to be seen by other football clubs in this? What if I drop Garnacho? If he wants to go to a top club managers are not going to stand there and accept that sort of behaviour. The fact that this is accepted at Manchester United, you don't get City players going out doing this, Liverpool players going out doing this, Arsenal players going out doing this, having issues, leaking things out against their managers. There is an understanding. We can slag them clubs off and criticise them all we want, and we can give them the banter, but we know that the players in them clubs all respect their coaches and their manager, and they all respect the pecking order and the hierarchy at that football club. Manchester United have lost all of that, and that's what we're trying to fight back right now. And bringing in characters and proper actual professionals into this football club is the only way that this is going to change. The situation right now, and Marcus Rashford piling in on this as well, it's like the two problem childs at Manchester United from last season with Ruben Amorim have got together on social media again. And look, social media is social media. The players are going to do what they want to do. We cannot stop that. Unless the club actually puts something out and make rules in-house about what you can and can't do on social media, I don't fully agree with that. But it's the opinion of people thinking that this is actually all right, I feel, and that there's nothing wrong with this. I'm just not that type of fan. I'm not. You know how I feel. There are fans that... I would say that everyone's a fan in their own way. Some people are more passionate than others. That's just the way it is. And some people will see this as a non-issue, a non-starter. I don't know why we're all kicking off about it. It's not. The whole point in this is about the situation that has developed at Manchester United because of Garnacho and what he said after the final. Because of Garnacho and his attitude. Let's not forget, this is a man that didn't want to celebrate in front of the fans because he thought the fans weren't giving him enough respect. You just scored a goal, an absolutely brilliant goal in front of the Stretford end, and you didn't want to celebrate. You have got young fans that idolise you on the pitch. There is form for it. If this was a one-off, then you're probably brushing it under the carpet like most people, well, not most people, a lot of people are actually saying you should do. He's wearing another club shirt, so what? Well, yeah, he's wearing a shirt with the name of the player who has caused an absolute storm at this football club on the back of it as well. That's the problem. It's not all just one isolated incident, is it? It's an accumulation of episodes with Garnacho, which just make him look like he's lashing out, petulantly lashing out because he's not got his way. And you know what? Beforehand, when he came through, he might have got his way. But now he's dealing with a different type of manager who isn't going to stand for this type of behaviour. And again, this goes down into the transfer window on what Manchester United have actually got to do now. And it's the culture of the football club which can only be changed with character and characters. How many times do I say it and how many times do I repeat what Ruben Amorim said? Finding the characters. Rio Ferdinand said it. Gary Neville, Wayne Rooney, every pundit knows. Anyone who has been at a big club before knows it's about the characters in the club. David Beckham, I made a point of mentioning this last night in the video, was talking openly about things he's seen at Manchester United that just wouldn't have cut it back in the day. Yeah, it's a different generation, but still, you represent your football club, and he's seen things off the pitch that he's not liking. I think everybody in a Manchester United fan base is looking at what's happening right now, and he's worrying about what's happening with his football club. There is no room for petulance like this anymore if we're going to move forward. And if we do want to move forward, you're going to have to accept that this is not right. This doesn't happen like this. We don't get fallouts and leaks at other clubs. And you know what? This just makes it look, and make this very clear right now before we move on and get your opinions on this. I'm not saying that Garnacho is the leaks, but it adds fuel to the fire. Do you know what I mean? And stupid posts like this, where you can pass them off on if you want and say that they are nothing, he's just wearing another shirt, it adds fuel to the fire and makes the situation 20 times worse than what it is. There is a time and a place to do things. And if you are in with a club and you've had a good season, then maybe you'll get away with wearing a different coloured shirt or a different shirt while training. Well, Garnacho posing in front of his Lamborghini and his Ferrari in front of a villa, wearing a Villa shirt, pardon the pun. But that alone, with everything else that's happened and the automatic fallout that's already been there, that's the problem. It's just putting more and more fuel on that fire that is now raging, and United are trying to get this player out. The leaks shouldn't have happened. If they didn't happen, then we might not be looking at this the same way, but we know there's a fallout now, and he is making it clear there's a fallout, and he cannot fall in line. How the hell another club is looking at this and thinking he's the one for us right now is beyond me. Like I could not get, for me now, I couldn't get it. If I was an opposition club looking at this, I don't want a player like that at my football club. I don't want him there. He's not thinking straight. It's a stupid, petulant act, and his representation again. No surprise that Marcus Rashford's family's running him and telling him what to do, and that's his agent and representative. And now you've got the same situation with Garnacho again. Family running the situation and family running the agent side of things and what goes on with the player. I don't think it's a good recipe, and I think we've had that proven to us here at Manchester United with these two players. Anyway, let's get into the comment section on this and where we're at. Talk to me about Jadon Sancho as well, everybody. We need to talk about him. It's important now that Manchester United move forward with these deals that we can. Garnacho may be a drawn-out saga because of this now. We don't know. Manny with a super chat. Thank you. Send all three to the A-League. We'll give them an attitude adjustment. In Australia, he means there, being an Aussie. United used to be like a fight club and miss Sir Alex Ferguson, says Ant. Adele, thank you again. Garnacho is being such a baby, and he wasn't that brilliant anyways. This would have never happened in a Sir Alex Ferguson days. Another one bringing back this the Fergie days there. CMGF, I'm laughing at Rashford thinking he's a number 9 still. Yeah, a few people we spoke about yesterday on Marcus Rashford's hopes regarding what he thinks his position is actually. You know what? It's like Marcus Rashford doesn't do an interview ever, does he? And then he goes and speaks to Spanish YouTubers because he wants to move to Barcelona. Again, like, I'm not saying that there is anything wrong with that, but where else does that happen? What other football club? It is a circus, an absolute circus, created by itself. And Garnacho was a creation of Manchester United's poor management. So was Marcus Rashford. I've said this before. I said, and you look at the academy players coming through Manchester United, and you look at some of the problems that we've got. This is why Scott McTominay needs so much praise as to what Manchester United Academy was. A professional footballer. Might not have been everybody's cup of tea. I've had issues with him before. He isn't the best player on the planet, skillful-wise, but I tell you what, you will struggle to find a better professional than Scott McTominay. You look at some of these players that we're dealing with now. Scott McTominay was benched, binned, shot at, shot down, everything. The criticism that man had. And the likes of Harry Maguire as well, for all the critique they get. You never get problems like this. You never get petulance and situations like this. And no, them players wouldn't have made elite level football. But you could say that. I mean, look at Scott McTominay now in Italy. Player of the season. Just won a Scudetto. I mean, that alone is proof there that professionalism does go a long way. But you cannot thrive in a culture which has got so much toxicity in it, like Manchester United has. I'm not surprised certain players want out, like Antony. He'll thrive elsewhere. You cannot survive at Manchester United, it seems, these days. And that's the workload in front of Manchester United now. The amount that United have got to do in this transfer window, it is unprecedented. It is. And we've always said that the transfer windows are always the biggest every single season, haven't we? But this one, with all of this going on, is absolutely huge for Manchester United. A mammoth, in fact. Let's get some more comments in on this one. Let's try and gauge where people are at. Just going to scroll up and find some. We blamed these leaks on so many players, Pogba, Lingard, etc. But there was one common denominator throughout it. It's all Marcus Rashford, says Ant. I'm not blaming Marcus Rashford. Look, Garnacho posted it. Marcus Rashford commented on it. Again, ill-advised, but Rashford's gone beyond that point, I think, now anyway. And Garnacho has just joined him. He's sat right up there on that top shelf now with Rashford on this one. Garnacho produces more leaks than United's utility waters. Could have done better with that one, mate. Bruno and Ahmad, first and second. Garnacho creates chances for the team, at least, despite his ego. Yeah, honestly, mate, like looking in from the outside, I don't think you would get it as much. I appreciate the opinion from the outside, and obviously it does look that way. But as an opposition fan, or as an opposition, let's just say club, looking in at this, what would you want? Would you want that player in at your football club? That's the question we're asking right now. Would you want him at your club with what you've seen so far? Great when he gets his own way. But as soon as you start to drop him, and this is at a football club, at a big football club, if you can't handle being left out of a side, then you're going to have a problem later on in your career. And this just goes to show how easy these players had it and what they think they could get away with, but not anymore. This is why they're all lashing out. Let's see how things change next season if these players are not at Manchester United, and let's see if we do get a more cohesive, a more productive, professional outfit, because we've all seen the videos and people seem to forget about it. We've seen the mopesy around, the petulance on the pitch, Marcus Rashford strolling around the pitch, not chasing, not working hard, while other players around him have busting a gut. Like, everybody forgets these moments, and everybody just clings on to the great moments for these players, trying to make them look good after time in defence for them. But look, they are both and all part of the worst team in Manchester United's history in the Premier League. And that should say something on its own. People were blaming Ruben Amorim for this Marcus Rashford and Garnacho situation as well. But it's like people said in the comments there, the common denominator all of the time is that the players are surviving and the coaches and managers are suffering. And I think Ruben Amorim, again, like, he's the one who stood up to it all, and he is the one now that is facing the axe for it, because he has stood up to it. Adam, your opinion about family is wrong. It only doesn't work in Manchester United. Family, it's not wrong, is it? It's not. It's not worked well. I said we're talking about Manchester United, Christopher. You sort of come back on yourself there. I'm not talking about anybody else. I'm talking about this doesn't work. And obviously the history of it doesn't work at Manchester United. So kind of answered it yourself there, mate, on that one. Hey Adam, regarding strikers, I'm really worried about what we'll do. I feel like anyone except Gyökeres or Osimhen is a massive step down and not good enough for what we need. Yeah, and we're going to get into the striker situation before this show finishes, actually, because there's quite a bit to actually talking about. Adam, what happens if Garnacho does not get a game time with another club? But what happens then? Get him out, says Peter. That's for us not to worry about, mate. But at the moment, it is problem number one, because he has come out and done this, and it is obviously a dig at Ruben Amorim. I think everybody can see that. There is a huge difference. Maguire revived himself and became an okay defender. The others are simply not interested. Sellered Edward, Garner was allergic to passing last season. What's that? GL to him somewhere else. Right, okay, got you what you're saying now. Cheers for that super chat, Adele. And another one, he says, and I blame Ollie and Erik ten Hag for all of this mess, by the way. I'm guessing you mean by letting the players actually get away with stuff like this before, and then obviously them feeling like they have got the rule of the roost, I'm guessing, mate, on that one. But yeah, it does look like it's just been an ever-growing problem at Manchester United, which has just got more and more out of control over the years. And I think that it is the biggest concern. Like, when will it stop? How does it stop? It can only stop if the players are not there, because the Leopard's never going to change his spots. That's just what Garnacho is. This is what Sancho was. We should have seen the warning signs from City and from Borussia Dortmund. Yes, stats on the pitch are great when you get the chance to play against some lesser sides, you would say, and build them stats up. But there has always been issues off the pitch. And if you're after a player that is going to be professional and be able to adapt to the highest level, then you should have been looking into that more. And I don't think Manchester United did. And then all the stories that came out afterwards. Let's not forget what like the Manu Matic said about Sancho and being able to afford a lavish Christmas party off the back of his fines for turning up late. This is just not on. High up, they are teaching at the academy how lucky they are to be there and not entitled to do anything and have to work for their place. Yeah, hopefully they are. And I think they are. Like the change at Manchester United's academy that I have seen when I've been in and about there at Carrington is completely different to what it was. It was. And I made a video about that. And that video got me in trouble with the club. But that is what is happening at Manchester United. And it's clear for everybody to see. Like, the same names are popping up every single time. And it's really disappointing. It's gutting, in fact, as a United fan, to see a lot of Manchester United's academy players having this sort of problem at the football club. You just wonder where it all actually went wrong, don't you? Anyway, moving on, we do have a lot of other stuff to talk about. Bryan Mbeumo, let's move forward with the professional nature of things, and let's see what Manchester United can do with a different team next season and making that team. Alcaraz has come out again last night. Marco Alcaraz talking about what we talked about yesterday with the story regarding a price agreed with Bryan Mbeumo. Now, Mbeumo's situation is, right now, as we all know, everything is agreed in terms of personal side of things, and Manchester United have just been negotiating with Brentford on that final price. The guaranteed amount is where we're actually at and what we've been discussing. So Rudy Galletti yesterday came out and said that Manchester United will pay approximately 63 million with add-ons, taking it to about 65. Alcaraz then late last night came out and said that Manchester United are set to agree, or discussions are working towards a 65 million in total agreement, with more talks this week to finalise the actual deal. So again, there's two different stories, contact coming out talking about the same price. It does look like Bryan Mbeumo is going to be in and around that £65 million mark, and I think that is probably, for a lot of Manchester United fans, just about right, I would say. There's some that are thinking that is too much, and there's some that are saying we should have just gone to another target. Look, if you want Antoine Semenyo from Bournemouth, he's going to be 65 million plus. Teams are not going for him. Manchester United are deep into negotiations with Bryan Mbeumo now, and they are not letting go of this. He will be a Manchester United player. It wouldn't have carried on this long if he wasn't going to be in at Manchester United. This agreement, I think, and the talks that are happening this week, like with what we got. We've got 1 week left. 1 week left. We've got 1 week left to now of this June window. Let's just call it a June window, the extra window, before all the other clubs come in. Can United get Mbeumo done now in this last week of June? That would be great going into July. Can you imagine going into July with 2 signings done already, 2 of your big signings out of the way, and then you can start negotiating, finding ways around other situations. And what we're looking at here, I feel, is the best scenario for United would be get Bryan Mbeumo done and get onto the clear and obvious issue, which is selling players, because this is then affecting what Manchester United get up front. And we just read a comment out there about worrying about what Manchester United are going to get up front, and the conversation keeps on going on into Bryan Mbeumo and Cunha possibly being United's dual striker, as in taking turns. You've got Ahmad there who can come in at 10, Bruno could come in at 10, maybe Mbeumo and Cunha share the number 9 role. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that at all. But the importance of the Garnacho, the Rashford, the Sancho'S situation, the Antony situation to a certain degree as well right now is stopping Manchester United going out and getting a top striker. We need to get Mbeumo over the line so we can concentrate on everything else. It seems like this is taking everything of Manchester United's resources right now, because until this gets done, I just don't think any other deal is going to get finalised. So ideally, we could do with these talks, or whatever they are for Bryan Mbeumo this week, the final talks on this agreement. If we can get this done this week, and then obviously United could announce it probably on the 1st of July, so he's registered in the new PSR year, which we're all expecting to happen. I think on that side of things, I think that would just calm the whole fan base down a lot and just make it like it's now, right, 2 big players in, them deals done. That's fantastic. We're miles ahead of our competitors, I feel, in the transfer window. I'm not talking about Liverpool or City. They're just on a different planet to us right now, and we're not even competing. Arsenal as well. But we're still ahead of a lot of clubs that we're going to be challenging for in that top 6, in and around that top 6, top 7 mark. I do believe that we are ahead from where we was last season anyway, compared to where they are so far. And if we can get on with getting these players out in July now and getting this done, and hopefully have certain things sorted before we come back for pre-season. Now, obviously, I think we're going to be back in the middle of next week. I think United actually come back. But we could just do with having the, let's just say the Sancho, maybe Anthony situation out of the way. Garnacho, I've got no idea how we're going to deal with that right now. But if they're out of the way now, then that just makes it easier. Going into that first game against Leeds on the 19th. Let's see what happens there. I fully expect Ruben to be back this week, by the way, at Carrington. So questions are probably going to be asked by him as to where we're actually at. Some big meetings now after what's happened are probably going to be going on at Carrington as to where we go forward here. But getting Bryan Mbeumo done, I think that is important for Manchester United next. That does look like, again, I keep saying this every single week, and I know it's painful. Every single time we say the same thing, enough in some people's eyes, it's still where it was. But there is significant change in that initial payments, that guaranteed money instead of add-ons does look to have changed, and this is what has probably been negotiated out and taken so long over the last couple of weeks for Manchester United. Brentford have stood firm, but United have also made sure that they have got a good deal out of this, is how this is looking now. And just to go over what we said yesterday, it looks like the initial fee is going to be more than what Man United initially wanted to put down. But then again, United are probably going to negotiate in with that, if that is the case. Better instalments for them that are more affordable, giving us a little bit more PSR room. And I think I feel quite comfortable with what has been said. It totally makes sense to me. I don't think we need to worry about it too much. I really don't. And that deal getting done and then moving into July is all going to be about the outgoings. I can't see anybody else coming in yet until everything is dealt with and this chaos that's going on at Manchester United now. Because let's just bring up a super chat quick here from Adele. We are being tagged at high prices because we are so bad. Clubs will take advantage of this because they know we need those players. It's the price to pay for having a bad management and because bad purchases for many years. Yeah, exactly what I've been saying for a while now, actually, mate, on that one. But when you look at, for instance, Liverpool looking to try and sell Harvey Elliott for 40 to 50 million. What's the difference? Well, we're carnage and we have got problem players. That's why nobody wants to buy Man United players, and it does affect our price and what we can get for players. A Liverpool properly run club getting good money for their young players. Manchester United struggling to get them out of the door. We need to get back to being run properly, and we can't run properly until we have got rid of all of the headaches that are at Manchester United right now and all the players that are holding us back. And there are quite a lot holding us back at the moment. So it's going to take time on that side of things. But yeah, the focus going into next week, I feel, will be on getting them players out of the door at Manchester United. And hopefully we can make significant ground on that now and actually start to move forward and get some of these players out. Jadon Sancho is the reason I started the show with him, because I feel like it's looking optimistic for him to be out of the door. That gives us room. That does give us some room in getting, getting some players in and getting a striker in, because we've moved on all of a sudden to the likes of Vlahovic, like we were talking about yesterday. But more of a report and more of a story coming about regarding Moise Kean at Fiorentina again for Manchester United. And this is all to do with the situation that's developed with losing out on Liam Delap, losing out on Gyökeres, Osimhen being nowhere near the scene. And there were stories last night going about Ekitike, and it's come from an Italian source again. I think it's Tutto Juve talking about Manchester United now going all in for Ekitike. I just cannot take that story seriously. I can't. I don't trust the source, and I don't feel like it doesn't sound real to me. United are not all in for Ekitike. We found that out. We have spoken with Frankfurt and made serious contact about him, but we haven't even started any negotiations on him. United, I think, need to know what's happening with everything else first before we even move. But there is another story going out from Italy again, Gazzetta dello Sport, about Moise Kean at Fiorentina now being a real option for Manchester United. He has got a buyout clause that runs out on the 15th of July. I wouldn't be rushing to meet a buyout clause in the first 2 weeks of July of 44.5 million for Moise Kean. I'm sorry, no, he's not worth that much. So yeah, no drama there. Not going to be looking to buy him in the first 2 weeks of July. I don't think anybody is. Look, he had a great season last season, 28 goal involvements, 25 goals. His best season ever. He's a player that has struggled in the Premier League with Everton, of course. I think he got 2 in 32 for Everton, so he's failed in the Premier League before, albeit being a lot younger, obviously, and that can be difficult, and some players do develop later on. Look at Victor Gyökeres. Struggled early doors in the Premier League, had to go to the Championship to find his way and then come away again. So in a way, you could say that some players actually do need to move away and come back again and then be a better player. But still not fully convinced by Moise Kean. But that story is also doing the rounds from Italy at the moment. He is a target, and I know he's a realistic option for United because he has been spoken about before. But again, it looks like it's 5th and 6th choice down the line at the moment for Manchester United regarding where we're actually at with these players, because we're not going to get Victor Gyökeres. I think that the ship has well and truly sailed with that one. Obviously, Osimhen has come out and said that he isn't moving to United or Arsenal already now. We've lost the lap already. TK looks like he's going to be too expensive for United, going off what's happened. And obviously, things can change in transfer windows at the moment. And we can get rid of players. What we've got to do here is, I think, again, get Mbeumo done. It's all looking at that at the moment. Get Mbeumo done, get that out of the way, and then try and move on. We cannot let Mbeumo drag on too much into July, I don't think. I think it's hopefully going to get sorted this week, and then Manchester United move forward past that and move players on. And then I think we can attack the forwards, because there's no forward we can afford, it seems, at the moment, apart from Vlahovic, who is really cheap, that we can bring in unless we sell players. We just don't have the finances. They are not there. And that, I think, is a big, big problem for Manchester United. And I think that is going to stop us moving forward on any player that we really want. It's going to be, I think, a case of the floodgates open in July as soon as everybody else can come in and bid for these players. We said this last night, I think, didn't we? It's going to be everybody scrambling around trying to make deals happen, trying to meet the new financial years and everything like that. Because June 1, I think now has hit a brick wall. We're not seeing any action at all. Nobody's moving on anybody, because I think that's it. We had the big Liverpool moves because they had money. City, Chelsea, United had a bit of money left over, so we've got the Cunha deal done. But I think looking at it, I think what we are waiting for here is maybe an agreement in place for Bryan Mbeumo this week, and then we're looking at possibly that being registered and fully finalised by the weekend, which will take us into July. That's my guess anyway, and it is a guess at the moment, obviously, because I'm not savvy to what is going on behind the scenes, but it's going to be a little bit longer, I think, for Bryan Mbeumo. I think it's going to be a few more days, and then we're going to be looking at, obviously, trying to move the players out. Sancho, I think, is the closest. Antony, I said this yesterday, with Antony right now, you're looking at a situation developing here with him, like other clubs coming in when July 1st hits that can afford him, and that a will test of Real Betis. He is still prioritising Betis. He wants to move to Betis, but other clubs will start to move in on this now. So I feel like we're just waiting on Antony, and we're just waiting out for other clubs to come in. And again, I think once everybody's finances are reset, we probably start finding out who can really afford the likes of Jadon Sancho as well. But yeah, just to go over that news at the top for the people that have just joined us now, Jadon Sancho's situation, Giovanni Manna, the sporting director at Napoli, has said they will not pay the request of Jadon Sancho's wages. That will not happen at Napoli. So they have made their stance very, very clear on where they're at with Jadon Sancho. So we'll have to deal with that and see what comes of that, whether Jadon Sancho is willing to drop his wages. Napoli have come out and said that they will obviously pay the fee that Manchester United want. That is fair, so no issue there at all. Obviously, Garnacho wants to stay in England. So after yesterday's antics and everything on social media, I don't know who is going to buy Garnacho at this point, or whether they feel they can get more out of him. I just don't get it at all. Again, with that one. Like, at other big clubs, you are going to be put out on the bench. You're not going to play every single game. I don't know why it's different at United, or why these players feel like they deserve more at this club. It's criminal how this club has got to this stage. It is. Quickly getting through the other news as well. Inter Milan sporting director Pierre Oscillo will focus on signing Rasmus Højlund once the club finalises the transfer of Tamari. Again, the Rasmus Højlund situation is another one. Will that start to ramp up now? Again, Manchester United haven't got any striker close at the moment. And it just makes you think, doesn't it? Are we actually going to get one? We're looking at a midfielder, the goalkeeping situation. Roger Fernandez talk came out again yesterday regarding the right wing-back situation. If United can't afford a striker that they want, that they know is the right type of striker, what is going to happen up front next season? Are we going to go out and get that make weight? Is there any striker out there that could be loaned into Manchester United this season? Are we going to go for Vlahovic for 17 million as the cheaper option and just get somebody in to actually do a job for Manchester United? All of these questions, I think, start to be answered now when we go into July. And what is going to happen with all of the players coming back from pre-season? God help Ruben Amorim, honestly, and what he's got to deal with when it comes back. Nobody's left yet. And obviously, that can change quite quickly. We know that. But ideally, he probably would have thought... I'm thinking maybe he thought he'd have got a couple of players in at least. We might still. Boomo might come through. And he said in that press conference that time, didn't he? Maybe two big players coming in. Big players coming in. We'll see, won't we? We will see on that one what big players are. Are they Cunha and Mbeumo? That's the question. Is there anyone else lined up? Thank you, everybody, for all of the likes, by the way. Absolutely love that. If you haven't already given the video a like and you're loving the content at the moment, your constant updates on everything going on in and around Manchester United, please do pop a like on the video, everybody. Also, make sure that you do hit that subscribe button as well. We're marching towards 87k next. We're already well on our way. After hitting 86,000 yesterday, it was absolutely brilliant. Now we've absolutely bombarded past that. So really impressed with all of your effort on that one, everybody. And thank you again for all of your contributions and comments on all of the shows. Let's get through a few more comments quickly now before we finish up. I also remember Garnacho responds to supporter who approached him outside the stadium and pointed out parts of his game to improve. His response was, wrong, but everyone attacked the supporter. I remember who it was, actually. That was the same day that I had my incident with bloody Rashford in the tunnel as well, which was, again, another problem. It's just culture. It always has been. The biggest problem at Manchester United always has been the culture at the football club, and there is a big player issue at Manchester United. It's going to take time. It's going to get time to fix at United. It really is. It's not going to be easy for Ruben Amorim at all now, dealing with this. It's just got worse, I think, in my opinion. So let's see what happens from here. But hey, look, that will do for this morning, everyone. I will be back later with all of the updates. Stay tuned. There is no schedule at all at the moment because there's so much news breaking around. We'll be in around 6 o'clock on the evening show this evening. And then if there's anything through the day, of course, I will have you updated as well around about midday. But if anything else does break, then I've got you covered. So make sure that you give the video a like, hit that subscribe button, also hit the bell notification